We are now live.
We're just going to wait a couple more minutes. Our chair should be joining us, plus a couple others. So hang in there. All right, we're going to wait a couple more minutes waiting for Human Services and our chair.
If you could each rename yourselves so it shows your full name on Zoom, that would be great. You just click the more arrow next to your name and rename.
Okay, there we are. Is this Cherise? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Cherise.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'm a minute or two late. I got stuck on the phone with a bank.
That's okay. We're just getting a couple more participants online here.
Well, that's good.
Hey, Cherise,
Yes,
can you hear me? This is Chad.
I can.
Can you tell me your exact location so I can send you your ticket?
Nope. Gonna be home in like 30 seconds. That's why I'm not really paying attention to you.
I just want to know where the address or location of the violation will be on your ticket. So
Yeah, no. One should not pull onto a Zoom with a cop on the call, huh? Is that what you're telling me?
ill-advised.
You look like you're in like New York or something.
Oh, it's Menominee. It's the clock
Oh,
tower.
I can see the tower.
I took that photo 5 years ago on night shift.
Very cool.
Yeah, you can't see it, Cherise, because you're talking on the phone and trying to drive.
Exactly. But I'm not driving anymore. I'm still in my car, but I'm not driving. I am parked.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see the
Cherise-
parking sign? Here. See it park?
Make sure you're recording the minutes there, Sarah.
This is recorded and on live on YouTube. Cherise, would you like me to pull up our agenda?
That would be wonderful.
All right.
I had to go to Marshfield later today than I thought it was going to be. And so I'm in the process of returning. Okay. So do we have everybody on that's going to be on? Do we know?
Yes, we've got Lori on, Jackie, Marshall, Alyssa with Bridge to Hope. We got Adrian from the DA's office, Shelley Jo, citizen member, and we've got Chad. So I believe we've got everyone that RSVP'd for today's meeting.
Wonderful. Then we could get started. All right. So you got the roll call. So we should be good with that. It was interesting trying to do 4 things at once. Approval of the minutes from February. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Say aye. Okay, motion carried. Public comment.
Because we are a closed meeting on Zoom, we are being broadcast on YouTube for public access, but the public is unable to comment.
Okay, then we'll move on to staff reports.
All right. Well, it's been a while, folks, since we met back in February. So just want to give a brief update on some of the activities. So the CJCC has held quarterly meetings. We met in February, May, and then just last week in August. At the beginning of the year in February, the council did approve goals and activities for each of the work groups for the year. So we're going to take a look at that later on down the agenda. Because of COVID, because of us really destabilizing operations, a lot of the work groups haven't met over the last several months. So we're just now getting kind of regrouping and taking a look at what's actually feasible for the goals and activities for this year as we're moving ahead. So we'll be talking more about that. And then I do want just to highlight that there's a virtual DEC conference. It's called Handle with Care is the name of the conference. So I did send out some information to the group about that, just for your information. And then the last thing that I've got to really highlight is our chair, Charisse, has been wonderful in leading up this work group, but now I think she's having some different ideas on what she wants to spend her time doing in the future. So I'm just going to hand it over to Charisse at this point.
That's a really nice way to put it, Sarah. So I was talking to Sarah the other day, and just kind of with where my life is right now, and I'm, not involved really in anything criminal justice other than the DB groups right now. And my focuses are just a little bit different than drug endangered children. Not that it's not important. I don't want to say that, but you guys are really up and running and established, and some really good leadership already going on. So it's come to the point where I think it's time for me to step down. And then you guys continue to carry the torch without me.
And
That
yeah,
doesn't
sure.
happen today, but
I was going to say, Charisse, you have been outstanding leader of this group, really got us together, got our MOU up and running, got our training, the protocols, all that. We've accomplished quite a bit under your leadership. So just want to thank you for your time, your volunteer time, that is, for all the years of service that you worked with us. So we appreciate your work, and yeah, I'll bring this up to the executive. As far as this work group, if somebody does want to step up to chair this group, that would be fantastic. If not, we will look to recruit somebody for the position. It's unpaid, or there's no extra pay, just more work.
Yeah, not a lot of work because Sarah does most of it. She's absolutely amazing. So thank you, Sarah, for those kind words. It really has been a joy and a privilege to be involved in DEC. And I'm so incredibly impressed with what Dunn County has done as far as DEC is concerned, especially when I look at many other counties. There's still counties out there who haven't even tried to put DEC together. And then there's other ones who have let it go by the wayside and not brought it back up. So Dunn County is definitely on the forefront of what they're doing. So be thinking about that, about who would like to take over that chairperson position. There's many qualified candidates on the team. So like I said, Sarah does an amazing job. So she'll help you out every step of the way. Okay. So that's that. Anything else? Anything else for your staff report, Sarah?
No, unless there's questions, that's all.
Okay. Any questions or comments from anybody? Nope. Okay. A report out on the Purveya duck training from February.
It seems like it's eons ago, but back in February, a small group of us, it was Chad, Carrie, Andrea, and myself, met Purveya staff in their lunchroom / conference room over the noon hour to give them the DEC presentation. It was a little bit different in that it really wasn't set up for a presentation, so to speak, but it did allow for kind of a more casual presentation and then questions and answers. So even though it was a little bit different than envisioned, it worked out nicely. Maybe there was 7 to 10 people that were participating in that training, but they did seem interested, and they paid attention and had some good questions to follow up. That was the first of the medical provider training that we have had. So I think overall it went well. I think kind of recommendations on the future when we do that, I just want to check to make sure they've got, or what kind of setup they're going to have. If we didn't quite have a kind of projector, if we had a projector, then we would have been able to show the slideshow. We just kind of flipped through the slides, which was fine. But I think other than that kind of little small limitation, I think it went fairly well. Chad, anything that you'd like to add?
No, I thought it was, it was very receptive on their behalf. They had a lot of good questions. And I think we kind of hit home on what our message was. And I think that they were very surprised to see, what we were dealing with on the street. So I think that they were very receptive, and I think I got good feedback from the people that are working there. So, but yeah, I do agree. I think next time we have to double check on, what their setting is, so we can prepare for that, because it's kind of felt, I don't think they could see all the slides and see all the pictures and stuff, so that kind of got lost. But I think our message was still received fairly well, so I think that got across.
Good. Good. Well, it's nice that they at least were receptive, even if it didn't quite go as anticipated. But at least we got the word out there, and they were open, and they wanted us to come, so that's good. That's a huge step forward in the medical community in Dunn County. Good. All right, anything else you want to add to that? Anyone? Okay. Update on DEC staffings. So that'd be law enforcement or CPS.
Yeah, from the law enforcement, this is Chad here. From the law enforcement perspective, I was just did a check on our number of cases we've had year to date. And for Menominee Police Department, we've had 4 DEC cases, one resulting in criminal charges. And I looked at the Sheriff's Department, looked like they've had a couple cases, and again, one resulting in criminal charges. I got to look at the how they're being labeled, because I know we've had more than 4. I felt like we've had at least probably 7 or 8 since the beginning of the year. But I think they've gone fairly well. We really haven't, because of the COVID and Human Services working from home, we really haven't done a lot of staffing with this, because a lot of meetings have been canceled. So we can try to figure out how to do that, through Zoom conference. But I feel like the report from the investigators, at least, that the interaction and working with Human Services and the DA's office has gone very well when we did go out to these cases and interact with the family, and I think the feedback came back pretty well. So
Good.
Yeah, this is Lori Radcliffe. I would agree with that, Chad, that it's gone well. I would say that the cases that have probably decreased, I think out of the nature of COVID, it just has changed things. We did get one today, actually, that I screened in that was labeled DEC, so that was a good thing. But yeah, I do think we're missing some of the cases just out of a crazy time, and but we're still going out on the cases. We just probably have missed the labeling of it.
I don't know if it helps from the DA side of things. I know our CHIPS cases are actually up since COVID. It kind of decreased there for a little bit with COVID, but we do see now that there is an increase again. And I just actually ran the numbers the other day, and our CHIPS and our TBR cases are above average for what we were last year at this point in time. And I know some of that is, most of it is drug related, but some of them are, of course, sexual assault related as well. But that could be, if everything isn't labeled exactly the same, the CHIPS numbers and the TPR numbers are up.
That's interesting.
It is.
yeah, I agree. Our sexual assault cases are for juvenile sexual assault cases have gone way up too. I think we had at least 8 of them within a 3-week period that we had to investigate. And I know the Sheriff's Department had quite a few too. So, and I don't know if it's just, sometimes it might not get labeled strictly a DEC case, because there might be something else, either a domestic or drug related. So, we might have missed a couple just because of labeling, for a different case or why we were there. But yeah, I definitely feel that our cases have gone up in the last 3 months. Hopefully things will start slowing down now, but for the most part, like I said, I think the biggest part is just the working together has gone a lot smoother. Information sharing is there. We're communicating with each other and making sure that we're not missing anything. So I feel like that's working very well.
I agree.
And that's really what it's all about anyway. So even if you don't have the in-person staffings, at least still having the connections. And over the last year or so, maybe the last year and a half even, you guys have talked a lot about how much more you work together and including each other in different decisions and processes and things like that. So that made COVID a whole lot easier. Had we been starting this in the middle of COVID, it would have been very different, I think. But it's great to see that you guys continue to make that work, regardless of circumstances. So nice job. That's good to hear. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to add to DEC staffings? Okay. Update on Handle with Care.
I would guess Carrie gives that update, and since she's on vacation, I do not have one. And I think typically it's involving the school, so it's
Right.
kind of a difficult time to give an update on that. So I have no doubt that in the next few weeks, things will pick up on our end, and this will just start rolling right back out.
You're right. Things are going to change dramatically in the next few weeks, I think, for you guys.
Mhm.
It'll be interesting to see what your numbers turn out to be once kids get back to school and start talking about what may have happened over the summer or even last spring.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just put Handle with Care on to the next agenda. We'll just table that one for today. So then we went on to regrouping about work group goals, activities, and timeline for 2020.
Okay, I'm gonna put up on the screen our goals and activities for this year. So, what did I do with it? All right, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right. So maybe I'll make it a little smaller so we can read it. Okay, so at the beginning of the year, this group discussed what we wanted to do for our goals, or I guess it was the end of last year was when we did it. So we brought those goals forward and they were approved by the CJCC in February. And we had already kind of worked on some of these things early in the year. So we have already completed the school training with Boyceville School District. So we really just have Colfax that's still outstanding. We've been able to get into all the other school districts, which is really fantastic. So our message got out there at least in the last school year, beginning of this school year. Or I guess we're already on to the next one here. Hard to keep up. DEC awareness training for local medical providers. That was a goal that we set out for this year. So as we discussed earlier, we've already accomplished that one with Prevea. And then it was would be the other medical providers trying to get an opportunity to meet with them and bring that training to them. We wanted to do some community awareness training with DEC. We wanted to develop that Handle with Care program, which sounded like it was making good progress earlier in the year. So we'll look forward to the update on that. We wanted to create a DEC webpage with local resources, something that we kind of that face out there where folks could go to get information and learn about what we're doing. We discussed DEC training for new staff. There's been a lot of new staff that's come on board with human services and law enforcement, plus the other agencies, the DA's office included, that we thought that new training or kind of a refresher training would be helpful for those new staff. And then finally, we wanted to revisit the DEC MOU. It's been several years since we signed that, so we just wanted to periodically review that, ensure it was still up to date and reflective of our activities. So those were the objectives and activities that were approved by the CJCC earlier in the year. So now I'll just hand it back over to Charisse to kind of help facilitate our discussion.
Well, the good thing is we've already done parts of it. Even with COVID, we still got some stuff done. So that's a cool thing. Although it was before COVID, but so really we take a look at what we want to continue to do for this year. And what can we do this year yet? But then also looking at what kinds of things, if we can't do them this year, do we still want to carry them over into next year? Because like some of it might still be challenging, like with schools and such with COVID, they may not want outsiders coming in doing presentations, that kind of stuff. So, and same even with local medical providers, we might have some challenges with that, or even a community thing unless we do an online. The Handle with Care, it's in process, so it's been developed. I just don't know if it's been fine-tuned yet. But we can talk about that one next time with when Carrie's back. So any thoughts from anybody about kind of moving forward? Are there specific things on this list that you think we should continue with, things we should get rid of, things that we should take a look at that we don't have on here? Finishing out this year and into next year?
I guess I just agree probably with the schools, but I guess I'm making a guess on that. Shelley, Joe, has your agency been able to get in the schools, or are they open, or are there going to be some major limitations kind of moving forward? Do you have any kind of sense
So
of that?
yesterday, we just got a notification from 2 of the schools, and one was Menominee, and I can't remember who the other one was, in reference to our youth empowerment program, which is not DFC, but it's still part of our prevention office. They said no to face-to-face, but they said yes to online. So
Okay.
we're seeing that we're probably going to continue with most of our stuff as online and no face-to-face.
Not surprising. That would have been my guess. And even if it's only from 2 school districts, my guess is it's going to follow. The rest of them are. And also given that, at least for the rest of this school year, there probably aren't going to be in services like there were before for us to even do a training during an in service, because things are so different. So my thought and my suggestion, and people can agree or disagree, is to put the Colfax School District, put it on the agenda for next year, because then we could plan for maybe a later teacher in service in this school year, so that they have some time to plan, because right now everything's so up in the air and they're still trying to just figure out how to get school started. So rather than adding one more thing to that list.
Are these the 2 schools that volunteered or wanted to get the training? Is that why they're the 2 listed?
No, they were the 2 left
Oh, okay.
when we made this list. So now the only one that's left is Colfax. Good question, though.
Right, and they were a little bit difficult to actually get to the decision makers with Colfax. So I agree, I guess, with Sharice's recommendation that I think at this stage it might be hard to get into the school. Lori, do you have any sense of kind of, and I know you might be guessing too, but just the receptiveness of the schools right now?
Yeah, I think it's a really hard sell for them to take. It's a huge priority for the kids and families, but I don't think it's fair to put this on the school district right now when they're trying to just figure out how they're going to educate kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's necessary, but I just think it can't be something that we're requesting right now. And that's just based on, like, I think maybe that will change in 6 months, but everything we hear is that's not changing yet. So I think we're not there yet. I think it should be put on hold.
Anybody else have thoughts about that?
As far as number 2, I was just wondering, is this something that could be done virtually, the number 2 part, not the number 1? If we moved on.
Well, I mean, I guess, and even the school district could be done virtually, I guess. And but I also know how it can be very disengaging when you're trying to build that relationship. I think that's a huge part of us being in person, and yeah.
I agree. I think the training is more beneficial in person than virtual.
I agree also that I don't think the school district needs just one added thing when their main concern should be how they're going to educate these kids this year.
Agreed.
So it sounds like we have a consensus to move at least the Colfax school at least till next year. So that would no longer be on the 2020 plan, but a 2021 plan. Okay. So then the medical piece, I tend to agree, especially since this is new. If this was like a follow-up training for medical staff, maybe, follow-up could be online, but I think the first time go at it in person might be better. Just the timing of it now is not good for in person. Anybody else's thoughts? What are you thinking, Chad?
Well, I think it's going to be tough to get into the medical field anyways, no matter how we look at it. Even today's time is going to be even more difficult, but we just have not had good luck with trying to get in, get face-to-face time with medical personnel. So I don't know how we're going to be able to do that. Maybe keep on going down the line and keep contacting different people until we find somebody that is accepting of it. I don't know how we do that. So.
You're correct. It has been a challenge. That's why it was exciting that Purveya said yes. But the Mayo and Marshfield, there wasn't even a response to anybody that I reached out to.
Right.
So is the target more of the pediatric physicians? Is that the starting target, or is the target just open?
I think when we talked about it, some of our conversations were ER docs because it could happen at that time, but also pediatricians. But we also got to the point where we're kind of like, well, anybody we can get can we get our foot in the door? Because we weren't having great luck with anybody specific.
I just wonder if we shouldn't start targeting the. I wonder if we should just start targeting the peds docs just because they seem to have maybe more concerned about the kids, and maybe you might be able to get to them before the ER docs. I don't know if you want to maybe start focusing on them first and put all of our effort into trying to get some face-to-face time with them, and then kind of work out from there. I don't know. That might be something we can refocus our direction on.
Absolutely. I think anything we can try to get in to that medical field is important. Anybody have any connections with any of the peds docs at Mayo? They don't have a pediatrician at Marshfield in town. Nobody? Okay. I can make some phone calls and just see.
I'll also ask around too, Therese.
Okay. Yeah, if you come up with anybody that might be somebody who might be more open than others. Yeah. So maybe the medical professional piece might be tabled till next year as well, because I think there's some real challenges right now with COVID. And if we want to do a quality job that's really in person more so than online, that may end up changing at some point, but because it's not an option. But
I wonder if given us times, we focus in on things that we don't have to go face to face with, like creating that DEC webpage, local resources, maybe figuring out a way to that public outreach, advertising. There's something to do with what we can do now without having to do face-to-face time. And then hopefully 2021, when COVID is finally gone, we might be able to go face-to-face again. But maybe that'd be something we have to focus in our efforts on, the things we don't have to do face-to-face right now, and, come to the table for our next meeting with our ideas and for the webpage and local resources. And so, and 6 and 7.
I agree. I think that's a great way to focus our energies. So is everybody okay with that? Go ahead, Chad.
Menominee Police Department, we just finally went launched our new website for the police department itself, not just the city website, but our police department webpage. So there's another good resource for us to link our DEC webpage and advertise it on our site too. So
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think any of those places that we think that we could put links or get approval to put links on, like the police department, the sheriff's departments, human services, and any other I can't think of right now, but I think that should be something that's looked at as far as the development of the webpage is also where can we link it that people are apt to find it.
I can ask
that make
about Arbor Place and County Partnership for Youth.
Okay, that'd be cool. Because we want people to know that it's out there. Okay, so moving forward then, focusing on, so like the next meeting would really look at an update on Handle with Care, but then our goals for the rest of the year would really be working on the webpage, revisiting the MOU, and then maybe with the webpage discussions, talking about how we can do some sort of public service announcements, for lack of a better term, that are online. So whether they're blasted out on a Facebook page or putting something in the newspaper or whatever that looks like. Does that sound like a good plan to people?
Yes. I like the service announcement. I think we talked about that the last meeting too, doing some, like a really brief 3 to 4 minute, something we can blast out, just get our message across, not the complete message, but just at least a little more awareness, like I said, just about a 3-minute video that we can put on everybody's Facebook page. Just basically get us out there. So that way people can start seeing us. And then when we do get to be open so we can do our presentation from the public, then they'll have a little bit more awareness of who we are and what we are too.
Absolutely. I think we volunteered you to do that, didn't we?
I was gonna say Chad should do like a 10-minute video presentation that we could use.
I thought that was Lori that volunteered herself.
No.
I'm thinking Lori volunteered you. No offense, Lori, but I don't think you were the first one to say, oh, please, can I?
Yeah, right. I don't think so. Not at this time in my life.
And Chad, your agency, didn't you receive or get some new equipment to help kind of facilitate some of that public outreach that we could probably use?
Correct. I know Brenda has put purchases in for new camera equipment and a green screen, so that way I can come to you from anywhere we want, and have fancy new background stuff. And she's got we've got the software editing for making videos. So I think we can easily help out with that, and videotape Laura whatever she wants to say, whatever Lori wants to say. So.
Dad, I'm still listening, and the answer is still no.
Lori, don't you think Chad does such an excellent job?
He
and
does.
Since it's their department's equipment, it would make the most sense.
He's a teacher by nature.
Who's gonna run the equipment? Who's gonna run the equipment though?
And the other people that were trained.
Brenna will run it.
You just have a great public persona.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Sure we will.
Absolutely. But I think that's a great way to utilize our time, since we're not able to do stuff in person a lot, but still be able to be useful and not just spin our wheels and just put everything off till next year, because we don't want to do that either, because then you lose momentum and things get lost.
Correct.
Okay. So moving forward, so probably like the next meeting to really work on, so everybody, like I like Chad's idea of having everybody bring ideas to the table of what should go on the website. And even maybe order of priority. So if you've got 10 things that you think are stuff you think should go on the DEC website, but list all 10 of them, but then prioritize like your top 3. And if you have 50 things, still prioritize your top 3. But I don't want to just kick out ideas now and say, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. Let's do some really good brainstorming between now and the next meeting. And then bring it kind of all to the table. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Anybody who does not want to do that or doesn't think that's a good plan? Okay. So let's, we'll move forward with that. And I think it's good that we just go through whatever our list of things were. And then we could also, at our next meeting, also, we could probably start actually maybe with the MOU, because that won't be too hard to go through and just make sure that the language is still correct and that we don't need to update anything. And so if everybody could just read through it. Sarah, could you send that out to everybody before the next meeting?
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you.
And then if everybody could just read it before we get to the meeting so that we can just kind of go through it really quickly and make sure everything's kosher with it. Just to make our meeting time more efficient. And then the bulk of it will really be talking about the online media presence with a website and such. And then we'll table Colfax till next year, and we'll table medical till next year, most likely, unless they say they want to do something online, we can take a look at that. But and that's if we even get anybody to respond, quite frankly. That's the first challenge, is making a connection. So let me look at the list of stuff. Oops. So is there anything else that we want to take a look at, or is that that might be pretty lofty for the end of the year anyway, to create a website? So
I think that, yeah, the website's going to be very, very time consuming. I know Brenna did our website and took a lot of time and effort putting into it to build it. So I think it's going to be very time consuming.
So we do have some support with that, with IT, and then our program assistant in the CJCC office to help us build that website. So I think for our work group part, it's going to be the content will be most important, and then we can get some assistance in the actually building of that website.
Perfect.
which is fantastic. That is fantastic. Okay. So is everybody good with that plan? We'll just kind of move forward. So next meeting, work on the MOU. So everybody read that beforehand. And then also come with all of your brainstorming ideas about the website and what you think should be on there, what's important. Any links that you might think should be on that website as well. And then we'll just move forward with that. Is that good?
Yeah, and I think, Therese, we should also, I mean, if we've got time, we should also come to the table with some ideas for that, that PSA announcement too. If anybody's got some thoughts too.
Well, my first thought is Chad does it.
Yeah.
We can come up with the ideas and we can plan it all. You could be the presenter.
Coming up with bad ideas, but it's not going to make it better if you keep repeating it.
Oh, Chad, you just do such a good job. That's a compliment to you.
All right.
It is, truly. But that's a good idea too. So bring ideas for PSAs and what that would look like. Because those would be great to blast out on our website too once the website's built. Any of those PSAs, obviously, we could have on there too, so people can go back and look through them. We could do multiples of them over the next however long we want to do them. Different topics. Start with obviously what is DEC and kind of, where can you find information, but we could then build in. This is totally off the top of my head right now, but wouldn't it be cool to have even little mini PSAs about what the role of social services is, what the role of law enforcement is, all those things that we kind of have talked about in training, but that way people have a place to go back and reread and re-listen to. And people are more apt to listen to 3 to 5 minutes than they are to an hour-long training. So something to think about too, moving forward, and what that would look like too. Not yet. We don't need to worry about that now. Right now, it's the one that Chad's gonna do. Just the really quick introduction.
Elevator speech, look at it that way.
Yeah.
Takes how many minutes for an elevator speech? 3 to 4?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you could do that, right?
If I drink enough coffee, I can get down to 30 seconds.
I will buy you coffee.
Yeah, Chad, I think you're just gonna get voted in, so it'll be fun. Okay. So what else was on our agenda? I somehow closed it out. There's Sarah's. Well, we kind of covered the next step. It was the regroup on what we're doing, determine next steps. We just need to determine a next meeting date. Do we want to do that by doodle poll?
How often do you guys normally meet? Because this is my first meeting.
We were meeting monthly.
Yeah, we've
But-
typically met like Wednesday afternoons, 3:30 to 4:30, monthly. Does that time, the afternoon time slot still work for folks, or do we want to look for something else?
I'm good.
Usually a good time for Carrie and I.
Okay.
And then we've been doing Wednesdays. I think that was one of the members only had Wednesday evening or afternoons available, but we can do, doesn't matter if we stick with Wednesdays or a different day of the week.
Wednesday's fine.
Wednesdays are good for the DA's office. There's mostly just traffic that day.
Good.
Great. So Charisse, would you like me to put out a doodle for Wednesdays at 3:30?
That would be helpful if you wouldn't mind.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so anything else we need to discuss today? Dead silence. It's so quiet when people are on Zooms. Our meetings are never this quiet in person, let me tell you. Just saying.
And they
So-
never really end early either, so.
True that. True that. We've had one or two that ended early, but not a lot. So we'll just plan on meeting in September then. At some point, Sarah will send out a doodle poll. I'll still continue until we figure out who's going to be the next person, but just keep that in mind moving forward. Okay. So that doesn't mean you get to say, well, I still don't know. I still don't know. I still don't know for the next year. That's not going to work, but
Sounds like a
I'll
plan.
keep going for a little while. Okay. So anything else anybody wants to add? Questions, thoughts? Okay. Dead silence, man.
I'm zoomed
Cricket.
out.
Huh?
I'm already zoomed out today, so sorry.
No, you're totally good. I get it. I am not zoomed out, but I spent 4 hours in a car, so I'm done. But thank you everybody for showing up today. I really appreciate that. I apologize for being late. I didn't plan on going to Marshfield today, so we'll move forward with the things that we talked about, and Sarah will send out a doodle poll. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.